Hello, this video is going to show you how to run a double scramble tournament in Flex. So this assumes that your club is already set up and ready to go with Stripe and it's able to take payments. And it also assumes that you know how to create a tournament in the most basic sense and send it out. So this is the screen that shows right after you've created your tournament and added a division. So I'm going to be showcasing this with D2 today. D2 is the name of my division. My tournament is called Limits. And here's my tournament sign-up link. I'm on a local environment, so this looks different for me, but for you, it will be an actual flexpickleball.com link, and you can send it to people to sign up. So Double Scramble is really kind of an underrated format. So a lot of the pros don't like it, and I think people basically above 4.0 kind of start to not like it, but it's such a fantastic format for everyone rated below that. It's basically a great way to get a lot of exposure to a lot of different players, and yeah, I'm hoping to see more of them in the future. But anyways, let's get started. The first thing that I should note about double scramble formats are the pool sizes. So I've basically listed out here valid pool sizes and invalid pool sizes. So it's obvious that you can't have any game of pickleball with less than 4 people. So 1, 2, and 3 are pretty obvious. But what's not obvious is that 6 and 7, 10 and 11, 14 and 15, if you have a pool with 6 players in it, or 7 players in it, or 10, etc., then it's actually mathematically impossible to create a competitively viable format. So one person in the pool is always going to have one game less that they played, or there's going to be one person always that played one extra game, and so it becomes really impossible to compare. So for every single scramble that you do, these are the numbers that are valid, and this is a massive pool, so it would be pretty rare anyway. So yeah, the most common ones are these ones. So here is the basic structure of any double scramble tournament. So there are 3 phases, and they are pools, a qualifier match, and brackets. So the pool is not optional. So every single double scramble tournament will at least have pools. And then there is the qualifier match, which requires you to want brackets later and multiple pools. And then there are brackets or finals. And so for these ones, these are definitely optional. And the qualifier match is also optional. So we'll go into details about all 3 of these now. Okay, so let's go over pools. So let's say that this is my tournament. It's D2. I've got all my signups, and for this example, I've got 15 players here ready to play. So there are many options here that we can do. So we're going to generate the preliminaries or the pools here. So again, these are required. You can't have a tournament without pools, and we haven't decided yet if we're going to have brackets or a qualifier match. But basically, all we do here is once we have our players all registered, we can click Generate Pools. And here's a highly configurable modal, which allows you to change up how the pools are done. So if we see here, the number of pools here is 1 by default. And so this would put all 15 players in a single pool. So this would be quite a lot of games, and 15 is not one of our valid numbers, so this wouldn't work anyway. If I tried to generate pools now, it would generate an error. So the thing I had in mind, and just for our example, I'm going to do 3 pools. So I'm going to increase this. So if we scroll down now, we can see that the automatically generated pools have changed. So you might be wondering how it decides which players go where, right? So here's how it goes. So it takes the highest duper and it puts it in pool A. Second highest puts that person in pool B. Third highest puts it in pool C. And then for the fourth highest duper, it puts it back in pool C. Then we go back to B, and then A, and then A, B, C, C, B, A, and so on. So it does this snake pattern here. So by default, this is usually pretty fair. This is an environment with test data, so it's all very random. But as you can see, the average duper of each pool is still quite close, even though this is like totally crazy data. So yeah, this is the modal, and obviously you can everything else in this modal is pretty simple. So you can do rally scoring, best of one, yeah, is almost certain to be done. You can add the court names, you can add a schedule. But yeah, this is the gist of this. And so I can generate pools, and so bam, pools are generated. And so I can go over to the pools tab and check out what it looks like. So since there are 5 people in each pool, one person gets a bye each round, and yeah, everybody gets 4 games, and they get every single person as a partner once, and they get every single other person as an opponent twice. So that's how that goes. So now I will run a command to fill up these scores. Okay, so I ran that command to fill up the scores, and so I'll hit this refresh button. This is useful. Okay, so now we can see that all of the games populated properly. So here's, this is going to be a good transition to brackets. So I can go over here right now and look at the standings. I can look at Pool A, Pool B, and Pool C. And then I can look at the aggregate table and see basically everybody in the tournament has something here. So the top 3 people are the top players from each pool basically, and they're sorted against each other by point differential percentage. So we could stop here. This could have been our entire tournament, and we don't need to do anything else. But for this, we probably want to enable brackets, and we want to think about more comparisons, because everybody within their pool hasn't been compared to anybody from any other pool. And so we can go over here and look at some options that we have. So we have this thing right here, use brackets for tournament. I think, for this example, yes, we will show how to use brackets for tournament, but if we didn't want to, we could just turn this off, and that would be it. And that would be our tournament. But yeah, let's turn them on and talk about the next thing, which is qualifying matches. For my example, I want everybody to play in the brackets, and so I can generate the qualifiers here. So I don't have to do this. One thing I could do is keep it simple, and if this is like your first doubles tournament, I would recommend this. But yeah, you could basically go over to generate brackets and choose which players you want to take, 1st through 5th, for example, and generate the bracket. And let's see what it does. So over in the bracket, we have the gold medal bracket. And which people did it take? Well, it took the top 5 from this list. So now they're going to all play each other for, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And I could have taken the top 4 if I wanted, or the top 8. So yeah, there's lots of options. So if they were to play this out, that could be the end of the tournament as well. And I would never have to create the qualifying match. But let's show an example on where we do use a qualifying match. So let's say that my plan is to create a bracket that everybody plays in. So I want this to be one pool, this to be one bracket, and I want this to be one bracket, and I want this to be my 3rd bracket. So one issue is, so these 3 are all people who got 2nd place in their own pool. And these 3 are all people who got 3rd in their own pool. So if I want to create a final bracket with these 5 people, then what I could do, if I wanted to really make sure that these 2 have earned their place and these 2 don't deserve to move up to the top, is I could have them play each other. So that's what I'm going to do. So I can showcase that. So these 2 are not from the same pool, and these 2 are guaranteed, might be from the same pool. So this person is the person who got 3rd in their pool, but did the best point differential percentage. So this is like the last chance. We call it the bracket qualifier match. And so I can showcase how to do that here. So it's gonna be called a fifth place bracket. I'm gonna call it a gold bracket qualifier. And I'm going to keep everything default and generate that. And so what we can see here is that it generated one match. And so these two are seated higher. That's why they get to play on the same team. And these two are seated lower, which is why they have to play on the same team. So basically these two have the opportunity to upset these two. And so let's say they do. So then what happens in these standings is that these two have now moved above Michelle and Lisa. So when I go to generate the brackets, it'll pull these top five instead of these three plus these three, because Michelle and Thomas lost the qualifier. So whoever wins the qualifier can move up to the top pool for the opportunity to get gold, silver, and bronze. So yeah, that's basically it. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to email me at micah@flexpickleball.com. And yeah, thank you.